Good evening, and welcome to the program Talk with Tashi, a program dedicated to young people, adolescents, and adults. Discuss your issues and solutions with Tashi. And now, here is your host, Tashi.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. Welcome back to the channel, and you are tuned in to the program Talk with Tashi. And it's another wonderful evening. I have back on this program Mr. Andre Bethune. He was with me sometime last year, I think. I will show you some snippets, and he shared on the topic of burnout at that time.
And I grew up just thinking that the stress that I was under is quite normal. It's like if you're not stressed, you're not doing anything. Yeah. That's it. If you're not stressed, you're not doing anything for the Lord. You have to be sweating and all of that to prove that you're doing the work of the Lord. That's what I was fed. Right? So what has happened to me is that extreme work at school and extreme work at church, and they have collided, and it has affected me where I started having high blood pressure issues. Yeah. Secondly, there is this particular let's call it ailment for now. It is called hemifacial spasm. If I heard that term before? No? So what happens is that, according to the neurosurgeon, when your stress levels have risen so much, right, it affects the nerves in your body. And so what happens that my speech started getting affected, the nerves, my eyes and all. So to the right side of my face right here, Tashi, it began to have issues. The nerves just started acting out. So it's almost like spasms will start happening. And those spasms is as a result of me not getting the rest as I need, and not stopping to exercise as I need, and not eating properly, and just taking on too much, not paying attention to my body. Body's crying out, and I'm not listening. And so it is a spillover.
But Andre, who had some health challenges, went through a season, and God brought him out miraculously, and he is back to share his testimony. So stay tuned. You don't want to go anywhere, because this is going to be powerful. And there are some other wonderful things that have happened in this season of his life. And he's back to give God all the glory. And I'm going to be chatting with him as Andre is here to give a talk with Tashi. Welcome back, Andre, guidance counselor at Calabar High School. Yes, I want to big you up. How are
Right,
you
Tashi?
doing?
I'm great. Great, man. I'm wonderful. God is good.
All
God
the
is good.
time, all the time, all the time. Now, when you were here the last time, a part of what you shared was there was a name for it, you'd have to remind me. You had a condition that the doctors had diagnosed that would have manifested itself in spasms and so on. And we were talking about burnout, and you spoke about how that had affected you, and you had to withdraw from ministry for some time just so that you could recuperate. So I wanted to just bring us back there quickly, and then bring us forward. And well, at least let's go back first.
Okay.
Tell us, remind us about that.
Definitely. Pleasure being on the program again. Thank you, Tashi. The term is called hemifacial spasm. That's the name of the illness, the illness, the sickness. And so I went through that hemifacial spasm ordeal, and later on finding out through the doctors that there was also a complication where there was a tumor growing on the top of my head. So and so I went through that procedure there. Um, it's actually a double brain surgery. That's what I did. I did a double brain surgery. Um,
But
so
before you talk about the surgery though,
right.
when you received the news from the doctor that you had a tumor on the top of your brain, walk us through how that made you feel. Did it shake your faith in
Mm.
any way? What was that like?
Tashi, it's one of the biggest moments I've experienced in my life. Um, till date, anyways. I mean, when I first got the news, because I was actually back at Jamaica Theological Seminary, studying. There's a friend of mine that brought it to my attention, saying, Andrew, what's going on with your face? I was kind of wondering what she was saying because, I wasn't looking like I wanted to sleep or anything like that. So what's actually wrong with the face? But when I looked at it, there was a twitching sensation, and I was just stunned. I was really stunned because I was wondering where all this came from all of a sudden. And I went to my general doctor, and he explained the whole situation to me, explaining the whole matter of the nerves in the face and how nerves come from the spinal cord going up to the brain and from the brain disseminating onto the face and all that. And the news just getting worse. I thought the doctor Tashi was gonna say, just drink some bush medicine, some Cersei or some or
Yeah.
some sauce up leaf tea. And indeed, people told me about drinking the sauce up leaf tea to calm the nerve. Um, but it was way more than that. And
Mm-hmm.
so at the time, Tashi, now just imagine it, studying, studying at school, and theology to be precise, right? Um, and I was like, why is this happening in the middle of this year? And my faith thus began to really, huh, I don't want to say waver, but it was really tested at that
Right.
time. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really tested at this time. And I want to tell you why it's been tested, or it was tested, is that all my life, Tashi, I got saved at age 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And all my life, the giftings and the talents that I have has to do with speaking, has to do with being in public space, talking to people, ministering to people. I even do voiceovers as
Yeah.
well. So all of what I did had to do with speaking and the voice. Yet this challenge came upon me, and I was really as in the middle wondering what is going on here. It seems quite contradicting to me, and
Mm-hmm.
I began even questioning God. And to be honest, I just really want to be honest. What period of time I wanted to, they say you want to color somebody. Um, Kind of felt that, like you want to color God and say, God, what, God, because you gave me all these talents
Yeah. So
and
that sounded
giftings.
like anger. Would you say that
Uh,
you were angry with God?
internally, I
Yeah, it
was not
was a
vocalizing it, but
wrestle.
internally,
Mm-hmm.
firstly, I'm like, but God, you gave me all these things, preaching and singing and voiceovers. So how are you allowing this to happen to me now?
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't do it. And it really tested me a whole lot to the point where I just I backed away little by little, stop preaching little by little, stop singing, stop allowing myself to be seen in public space to minister to people, and that was quite
So
odd for
was
me.
was your withdrawal a result of your wrestling internally with
Mhm.
God because your faith was being tested, or was it that physically you could not manage all of what you were doing?
It was a combination, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
A combination. That wrestling with God, and I was really upset with him, to the point where, but God, you allowed this to happen. So I mean, I can't do this. I can't preach your word anymore. I'm not going to go up there anymore because you've allowed this to happen. That's what I was
Right.
saying to myself. And I was just was really being tested and tried. I'm like, no, I can't do this. And then and then just not really want to be seen. Of course, you're on the podium and everywhere, and people just it's happening, and it's been a distraction.
Oh, so
Right.
because of what was happening physically, it was
That's
visible,
it.
and you
It's
would have
quite
been
visible.
very conscious about that. People are seeing it and then they're asking and so on. So you just say, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the journey? What's the duration of time between this diagnosis and when you actually got to the surgeon?
Mm. 3 years.
Three
Three
whole years of that
years.
kind of struggle. So at any point, so when you decided, when the date was set now for the surgery,
Right.
how did you feel leading up to that, even a few days, a day before and so on? What was the
Mm.
possibility in terms of the success rate of a surgery like this? What did the doctors say?
Well, so the neurosurgeon, that's a specialist that
Mm,
deals with these cases. He there are mixed reactions, to be honest. And I'll tell you why shortly, because when he sent me to do an MRI scan, just to see where along the nerves, because nerves are coming from the back of the brain here, coming down, where on it is causing the sensation. Now, what happens, Tashi, is that the nerve and a vessel is touching, and it causes a twitching sensation. Now, without him identifying exactly where it is, it's almost like a needle in a haystack. He's gonna be playing around and see what's going on. Um, and so while doing the MRI scan, we
mm.
found we found the tumor. So while looking for one thing, we found the next thing.
Okay.
And
Oh.
so he said to me that, the only remedy to this is surgery, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest. I think what are the greatest challenge though in the period of time is that I was waiting for the insurance, surgical insurance, to come through. And there's a particular thing called Medigap that's needed. It's almost like a supplemental for
Mm-hmm.
your insurance. And that was taking a whole lot of time. And, during the period, I was really getting frustrated. Why isn't this thing coming through? So wondering what's happening. But he was adamant that I have to wait. Um, I have to wait because one, I needed the funding for the particular procedure.
Right.
No, right. And so I had to just wait.
Mm-hmm.
My frustration, I was just really waiting for it to come through. Things wasn't coming through. But finally it came through,
Praise
Tashi.
God. Yeah.
And I guess one would say, "Oh, you're glad now for it to come." Yes, but there's a but.
Mm.
And here's a but. The but is that during the waiting and all that, I was, of course, praying. I was interceding. I was fasting. I was getting as much support because I wanted God to miraculously heal me. So
Yes.
here's the dilemma now. Here's the challenge now. You see, so I'm accustomed to God being able to miraculously heal. I've heard of the testimonies of healings, and I wanted the same healing for me so that I do not do this surgery here.
Mm.
God had a different plan.
Mm.
October 21st is when I was admitted at the Andrews Memorial Hospital, which, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, October 21st was my birthday.
Wow.
Ah,
Admitted to do surgery on your
on
birthday.
my birthday, right? So I was
Mm.
admitted 21st, but actually did the surgery early the 22nd, early in the morning of the 22nd. Um, and bear in mind, Tashi, that was the same period of time Hurricane Melissa was about to approach.
Yes.
So, so it was
Hurricane
a
Minutes was
whole,
the 28th.
that's right. There's a whole
Yeah.
lot going on that period of time.
Mm.
Um, and I tell you, Tashi, it's kind of leading up to why I'm even doing these interviews. And when I say these, because I would have been on different stations, Gospel JA, Love 101, and
Mm.
I'm here, the award-winning show for with Tashi. So yeah, right. So I was very intentional with it because
Yeah.
in the moment, Tashi, there's a conversation with God.
Mm.
So just remember now, this is the same Andre that was really angry and upset with God. Why are you doing this? Well, then there was a conversation there. All right, God, if this is what's going to be,
if this is how you want it, you want me to go through the hands of the surgeon.
Mm.
I liken it to the Garden of Gethsemane. And I was there not really wanting to go through this thing here. Not really wanting the man to cut my head, Tashi. But then there was just a piece that says, if this by doing this procedure here and and coming through alive, if this will bring glory and honor to you, God, so let it be. If this procedure here at the end will bring somebody else to Christ, so
Yes.
let it be. If this procedure here at the end will allow someone who does know God to know God now, so let it be.
Wow.
So in other words, aka, not my will, but
But
thy will
then
be
be
done.
done. Yeah.
And I just remained at peace after that. So that explains the kind of mixed feeling I was talking about leading up to it.
So what did the doctor say in terms of the usual success rate of a surgery like
Mm.
this? Did you have any, so you had a conversation with God and you experienced peace.
Right.
Before that conversation with God, you knew it was coming up the 21st that you would have been going in, admitted to do the
Right.
surgery early morning, the 22nd, and so on. So even 2 days before that, what was it? What was on your mind? Did you at any point think, what if I don't make it out of this?
Um, I would be lying if there wasn't any sort of anxiety or nervousness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the doctor, neurosurgeon would have shared it with me because of course we had conversations leading up to that and matter of the success rate and so forth. Um, this is not his first time doing, obviously not doing first, obviously not the first time doing a surgery like this.
Right.
Um, it's a very complicated, it's a very dangerous
Mm-hmm.
surgery, Tashi. When you speak about brain surgery, it's no child's play. Yeah, there have been countless stories. Because even him would have shared that this procedure here is not something to take lightly at all, and it's going to take some time for me to heal, to be honest. So there's still some a little feeling about that and saying, what are chances that I'll come through this alive or come through successfully? And he said that, let's move forward with it and let's do it. He's going to try to do his best, the best as he can, especially that both the MRI and the MRA scan, it's two different things, was not showing directly where the twitching sensation is. So to
Okay.
him, he's going in blindly. Is really and truly, which is what made things a bit nervous. He's not sure where exactly on the nerve it is and what he's going to find. Um, the MRI scan, however, was showing where the tumor is. So at least that wasn't so bad. But it's the matter with the nerves. And so there was a bit of, all right, let's see how it goes, kind of thing like that. I mean, nobody wants to hear
Wow.
let's see how it goes. They want to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
But again, faith being tested and saying,
Yeah,
no,
that must have been a little
mhm.
nerve-wracking. So,
Ah,
how
yeah.
long did how long were you under, how long was the surgery? I was going to say under the knife, but I don't know.
It is what it is. That's okay. It is what it is. Um, here's everything about it is very interesting. I'll tell you the truth. Um, at the doctor's office, he told me 8 hours stops.
Mm,
The surgery lasted 10 hours.
okay.
10
So you
hours.
exceeded
10
what was
hours.
usual.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
10
that's 10
hours.
hours. 10 long hours.
And
Um,
you were clearly asleep the whole time.
I hope so. Of course.
You didn't have any out-of-body experience, go heaven
Oh,
and come back or anything like
no, 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 man. The most I can remember is, yeah, in the theater room there, I was just talking, saying something, and next minute, I'm gone. So
yeah,
that's when
they
the
tend to do
anesthesia,
that.
yeah, came. But I have, yes, it was
Talk
there.
to you until you're gone.
I'm gone, and
Right.
no,
So then how long? So 10 hours and then you came to. How long after that?
Um, hmm, let's put it this way, because I was told that
Yes.
the nurses got me awake a bit when I first came out. You know, my family was there, so she was kind of alerting me that, hey, people are around, say hi, and all that stuff. And but shortly after, that's those back off.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say woke up,
Yes.
really, um, it's really the following day now, the
Okay,
following
so
day,
that would be the 23rd.
third. Yeah,
Mm.
the 23rd I was there. It's really up, and it's really, really conscious that, hey, I'm back. I'm back.
So what was that feeling like when you got up? So the surgeon, you see, it was a double, describe it
Double
again.
brain surgery.
A double brain surgery. So they
Yeah,
were looking for, well, the tumor was clear from the scans,
right.
but then where the
The
nerves,
nerves. Right. So where the vessels are touching,
the nerves,
where
right?
exactly on a nerve, is a twitching sensation, is a touching.
Mm-hmm.
So the touching would cause the twitching sensation. So he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
sure where that is.
So did
So
he find it?
ah.
Or did the cert, yeah, how did that part go?
All right, let's. I use an expression at the start of the show there. That God works in mysterious ways.
Mm.
So Tashi, well at the surgeon's office before the surgery, I remember the whole deliberation with the whole insurance and all that. And he said something to me, Tashi. He said, "Don't worry, yourself, man. God works in mysterious ways."
Mm.
No, no, no. Let me stick a point there because I don't just want to be a faith man. I don't
Yes.
just want to be a Christian. I don't just want to go to church, nothing like that. But he said it. But the 21st when he was briefing me, not well, the 22nd before the surgery, and I truly believe, 'cause it wasn't me who remembered. I have to give credit to God. It was God who reminded me of what He said to me the year before, that God works in mysterious ways.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said to him, Doc, do you remember last year you said to me, God works in mysterious ways? He looked up at me and he smiled. Perhaps that thinking that I would remember that he said that. And the doctor, I believe, would have experienced God being a miraculous God, not only in theory, but practically.
Practically,
And
yeah.
here's it now, because he's going in as a veteran surgeon and years of experience, but he could not identify where the
Mm-hmm.
twitching is. And when he went in, God revealed where the twitching sensation was. Yeah,
Wow.
God
Yeah.
revealed it. Because he did not see it before, he could
And
not
he
find
was
it.
the one who said that it was like finding a needle in a
And needle
haystack.
in a haystack.
And as
He was
him
going to go in
going
and
in,
search.
so
And God showed him where it is.
yeah,
Right?
man.
It is then that I knew that God was actually there in the theater room too. I believe God was there,
Mm.
steering the entire thing, orchestrating the entire thing from day
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he found it, and so God just helped him stay, well, the whole team helped them straight through the procedure.
Mm.
And just remember this, as I said, this is a very delicate procedure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been
And
told,
and so
well, yep.
God was directing the procedure
Hmm.
from the get-go, from the
Yeah.
time you were in the hospital and had that conversation with God, and He gave you peace,
Peace.
because your desire at that time was, if this is the path for healing that you're gonna choose from me, God, then fine, as long as you get the glory and I am able to tell others about what you have done so that somebody will get blessed
That's
from
right.
this.
That's right.
So, what has the recovery process been like now? How has God showed up in
Mm.
that?
Wow. God works in mysterious ways.
Amen.
All right. So I did this procedure here in October. Yeah. Been
Mhm.
recovering all that time. Um, the first time I actually went back to church was watch night service. I went to watch night service. You know, determined that no man, this year can't finish. I'm gonna go back to church. And I went back. Um, and here's the thing, Tashi, because when the doctor assessed me, first of all, the healing process was going well. Now, the cut on top of my head was healing way faster
Mhm.
than he thought it would have.
Mm.
And so his assessment was that he would give me the green light with conditions. And of course, you go back to work, you don't talk up yourself, you don't do as much work as, but you give the green light. Now, these things don't normally happen like that because to recover from a brain surgery, it takes at least a year to recover. But God allowed it that the healing process began and was going good.
Mm.
And I went back to school way earlier than I should have.
Okay.
Yeah. I went back the second week of January. Second
Which
week
is
of
pretty
January.
quick. Yeah.
Right. So God was still working. It's just only because it's two procedures. I think the second one here because it was closer to the soft tissue on my neck. It take a longer period of time to heal. But that was the only thing that wasn't healed. Still not healed, by the way. But I was still able to manage. I was able to walk without any stick. I no
Mm.
leaning and nothing like that. I didn't start driving just yet. It was about a month after February, I believe, in February,
Mhm.
that I was able to drive again. But of course, before I started driving, I had to get these glasses. I didn't have a glasses before, but based on what was happening
Mm.
with my eye, I was recommended for that for glasses, and I
Mhm.
started driving back again. Within quick succession, I was able to go back to church and sing again.
All
With quick
right.
succession, I was able to go back to doing voiceovers again.
All right.
And so it's really going good. It's really going
Mm.
good. And I really had to be trying to hold back myself, say, hold on, Andre, don't go too fast yet, because I remember when I was singing, I'm trying to sing with all my might, and of course, out of this victorious, uh, thing.
Ah.
But my head, there was a slight little, hurt in my head. I said, okay, all right, just tone it down a
This,
bit. I'm really
yeah.
excited.
Go easy. Yeah.
Just go easy, a
Yeah.
little. But it's a wonderful experience, that year.
Yes. I
Wonderful,
get
man.
so I'm just thinking about the contrast. You going through three
Mm.
years of wrestling and
Wilderness, man.
grappling with the news that
Mm-hmm.
this is
Mm-hmm.
it and this is happening in your brain and so on, and all the struggles that come with that, and then the frustration of trying to get the insurance, waiting on that, and then finally getting into surgery and so on. And now you have awoken and
Oh,
you're up and about, and the recovery
it's more than
process is going
physical.
well.
It's more than physical. I'll tell you. Since
Yeah.
coming out of the surgery, I tell you, my faith has been on a different level now.
Mm.
It's like I'm different. I'm really different now.
You have a new
Um,
lease on life.
New lease on life. And I was sharing with somebody. I think I was sharing with my congregation actually. That listen, man, I don't need nobody to come from prison could tell me say God are the greatest. Yeah.
Mm.
Him just know that, right? And that's Vibes Cartel I'm talking about. He say him come out and talk about God is greatest. Him just know that. Now
Mm.
this procedure here coming out of this procedure here, I can testify that indeed God is the greatest. And
Yeah.
so, Tashi, I really could not sit on this thing here. I really could not have. And I just remember what the dialogue I had, at a hospital. I'm saying, but no, if I come out of this here, the whole world need to know. Oh
Yes.
my God. And I just
Hmm.
been so intentional. As I say, I was on an interview with Gospel JAFM. I was on Love 101. And I'm deciding again, people have to know about the
Yeah,
goodness
man, we have to share
of
this
this.
all over the
Have
world.
to.
So, I mean, I hope you're planning to write a book, to just to
Oh,
document your testimony somewhere. But
I'll
I
get to
mean, you're
that.
doing well. You have
I'll
it video documented already. So,
Right.
that would be really, really, really be good.
Yeah, man, definitely, man.
God
I
works in mysterious ways.
Mysterious ways.
His wonders to
Oh,
perform.
oh, Lord. It's moving from theoretical to practical now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share this with you. And it's part of why I'm doing too, because my family told me this, that because they were waiting for me to come out. They were checking because that was very, very long, 10 hours, and they were wondering what's going on with me. And when the news came out that I'm coming out, doctor came out and they told me that doctor was really, really, the Jamaica term, frass out. Him look really, it's a very long procedure. And he said, Tashi, he said that it's one of the longest brain surgery procedure he has ever done. Um, and he really didn't think I'd live.
Wow.
He really didn't think I'd live because of how
Mm.
complicated it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I say, it had to be God.
Yes,
It had to
definitely.
be God. And I'm saying, listen, doctors, despite whatever letters behind your name, whatever experience you have, but there's a God who's greater. There's a God who is more potent and more intentional with what he's doing. He looks out for his children, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and he's there. He never leaves us, never forsake us, even at the very theater room. It doesn't matter how complicated the situation is, right? And to many people, you talk about brain surgery, yeah, your hope kind of just lost. Like, oh boy, I mean, we're gonna
Yeah.
fix. But
But God,
God,
yeah. Andre, I wanted to speak to some people who might be where you were. As we know, a lot of Christians are grappling with different illnesses, some with cancer, some with
right.
breast cancer, different types of cancer, and other kinds of maladies, infirmities that
Mm,
affect. And some are preparing for surgery. Some
yeah,
have done surgery and they're in the recovery process and
mm,
so on. And then there are, just that kind of, but having gone through what you've been through and understand the faith struggle, well,
mm.
the faith testing,
Testing, right?
the
Testing,
faith testing
yeah.
and that internal wrestling with God,
Mm,
a sense of anger to say,
mm,
why is this happening? You've called me to do these things. Everything that
mm,
I've done in ministry has been with my voice, with
right.
some kind of talking and so on. And here it is that this thing is now affecting my ability to do that in a consistent way and
Mm.
so on. But I wanted to speak to somebody who has been discouraged in this kind of situation, what would you say to such a person?
You know, starting with this, God works in mysterious ways. Um, it's come back to who we are and whose we are, Tashi. And I want to speak to somebody um today because you see what happens sometimes that we put a level on God based on what the situation is. And so we tend to put him at a particular level. If it is something common, God can overcome the common cold and so forth. But when the obstacle is large, we tend to put God at a size two and say, no man, God can't do that. And that's a temptation we do sometimes. I'm saying there's somebody there who's going through their ordeal. It doesn't matter how big it is, it
Mm,
doesn't matter how deep it is. Never lose faith in God. Never. Remind yourself of who God is. And that's what we have to do sometimes. I'm speaking to you. Remind yourself of who God is.
mhm,
Yeah. What his word declares. We can only declare, we can only decree and declare what God said in word. We cannot declare nothing else.
mm,
Right? He is
mm,
who he say he is. And I believe many times, and I'll speak to somebody today. Listen, yeah, you'd want God to heal you miraculously. But God is working in mysterious ways. He may not be healing you in that way. He's working in a different way, right? For his glory and for your benefit.
mhm,
So I'm not gonna try to trivialize your situation, but I'm not sharing as a brother to you, as a listen man, hold on to your faith. Remind yourself who you are and whose you are. And if you are a child of the King, if you are a son or daughter of the Most High God, He will take care of you. Right? Now, I'm talking from experience. I've been through it. Right? Without insurance, I would have to pay $7 million to do double procedure, double brain procedure, right? With
Mhm.
insurance, I still had to pay $1.7 million. And I'm saying that God has a way of working it out. I didn't know how it's going to work out, but God does have some way to make some connection. But what is the source? Who you are and and whose you are. So be encouraged, friends.
Yeah.
Be encouraged. Um, stand up in Christ. Stand up in Christ and allow his word to come. It's not his word is not more than just the Bible have in us. But allow the words to lift off the page and become an experience, a
Mm.
reality in the situation. So I want to
Mm.
encourage you, keep holding on, friends. Keep holding on.
Amen. Amen.
Yep.
A fitting note on which to end. But before we end, I know that you have some great news.
Right? Alia, Yolan, Marshall. It's going on. Will you marry me? You asked the question, you know. Andre, never have to ask the question, man. Wow!
That I want to share. You recently got engaged. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tashi. Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. And, you know, we want to just really pray that God will bless your union, your relationship, and that even after the wedding ceremony, that
Yeah.
things will prosper
Oh
and
yes.
it will all be well with both of you.
Thank you, thank you. And I must say, the woman I proposed to, she was
Hmm.
actually there all throughout the procedure with me.
Good woman
Um,
that.
all through Hurricane Melissa, she was there with me, the
Yeah.
recovery. This is the same woman that has a 5-year-old child, could have been home taking care of her child and so forth, but she stood it out. She stood it out every doctor visit. She's there. And I want to tell you, because last year, even before the double brain surgery, I was actually admitted at the hospital early up in the year for
Mhm.
there's a minor stroke, and she was there. She sacrificed her time to come. So God was setting me up, setting her up, and to reveal who she is through
Yeah.
this procedure here.
Yeah.
So to
Because
God be the praise.
yeah, man, it was a good
Yeah,
season for to see the real person. If she
that's right.
could be there during the rough times, then wow, she will be committed
Yeah,
throughout. All
yeah.
right, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your testimony. It has been wonderful. And to all our viewers who are watching, thank you for tuning in. It has been wonderful and just want to encourage you, as Andre has said, stick to your faith, stay strong in the faith. Don't leave God alone because He will not leave you alone. And whatever your situation is, remember that God is well able. So, if you have not yet subscribed, you need to do so you can be a part of another talk with Tashi. God bless you and see you next time on the Unusual Grace channel.
Thanks for tuning in. Do join us next week, same time and on this platform when you can talk with Tashi. Until next time, do have a safe, blessed, and productive week.